Hey there, and welcome back to Urban Tech. Today we're going to be covering another qGeem item. This particular one is actually geared towards capturing and streaming that data if you've got an interest in gaming or streaming some other content online. And this is one of those capture cards that you can take advantage of to essentially stream directly to Twitch, YouTube, those other online services. We're going to go over a couple of things in this video. I guess first and foremost, we'll do a little unboxing, just a little bit of a commentary on the actual build itself. And then we'll jump into setting up kind of a sample open source capture software. We're going to use OBS in our example. And then finally, we'll probably just have a very short little piece just showing what the kind of output would look like. So yeah, let's jump right in. Jumping right in, before we open anything up, I will say that again, qGeem has gone for lightweight packaging, which I am a huge fan of. And let's jump in and open this guy up. So I can see something is catching here. Okay, perfect. So the first thing we're seeing here is the user manual. This seems to cover a couple of steps around actually setting up OBS, which is the software we're going to use to run some capturing today. And it seems to be pretty much entirely focused on that. I think it might be beneficial to provide just a little bit of explanation for some of the items that you're going to see on the body of this, but they're relatively self-explanatory. It would just be nice to have, really. In terms of what's inside the case, you can see here that they've gone for kind of a similar setup for that auxiliary jack adapter for phones that I've reviewed in the past, which is that connected cable. Similar external metal that we're using there. This kind of feels like it might be like aluminium or an aluminium alloy, and it definitely is nice and cool to the touch. I'd be interested to see what kind of temperatures that would hit during the actual runtime. That's something I might comment on later. In terms of the actual construction, I will say that I do really appreciate that minimalist look. That's the second time now that I've seen an item from qGeem that does have that minimalist look. It's very easy to fall into that gaming aesthetic, I would say, pitfall when you are designing these peripherals, but it doesn't seem like qGeem is falling for that, and their major focus is that they have not only this kind of easy to travel mode for these cards. I will say this is a nice tidy size, but additionally it is something that could be just as present on an office desk for whatever reason, rather than just a very clear gamer desk. So I do appreciate that choice from them. On top of the actual body itself, we've got a couple of things here, just the obvious information on the product itself, recycling, what the kind of certifications that it has achieved, but you're not here about that. Let's talk about the ports. So there's about 5 that you really care about, and we'll look through these first. Up top, you can see we have color-coded red, black, and green. Red up top is for the recording input. We have the black is a microphone input, and green is the headset input there. Additionally, we have 2 HDMI slots. These ports are for the input halfway down the body and the output right on the end. So you can see that kind of pass-through functionality available there. And finally, you can actually see that we have 2 little holes here in the body, and those little holes are actually just to kind of give you a status. They're essentially like status LEDs for the screen correctly set up and the fact that this unit is receiving power. So hopefully when this is running later in our little test example, we will see that in action. All right, I think that's everything we need here. We are going to move over now and get into setting up OBS.
Alright, welcome back to the software side of this review. We're going to be covering the software that they recommend we use with the qGeem HDMI video capture, and that here is the OBS software. And so this particular one I've actually already installed. I'm just showing you the kind of Windows page as it is, or this installation page I should say, as it kind of goes through. You can see it works for all major operating systems, and it's pretty straightforward how you go through it. I'm going to open up this software here and then hope that you guys will have the visibility. What you can see here real quick is that you actually can see this kind of like infinite mirror effect at the moment, and that's just because I have installed this just prior. The installation instructions are completely straightforward. It's pretty much install okay. There's no really serious configuration options apart from like installation location, so that much is pretty much straightforward. And additionally, it doesn't take very long, so I didn't really feel a good need for showing that at this point. Now, what we're going to see here is we do have my existing settings, so you can see that I'm kind of showing the screen within the screen within the screen the whole way down in this kind of sample view page. What I'm going to walk you through here is how we set up sources and how we are going to use the qGeem capture card with that. So let's talk about that. I can go in here and double click on this qGeem capture device. This is an existing one I have. We can talk about that more in a moment, but we're just going to talk about this as if it does not exist. And what we would do is on the OBS software side, you would click the add new source button there, the little plus in the sources section. When you click that, you can actually see a video capture card. So clicking here, you can give it a name, so meaningful name. Just keep it there, and this is a new one that we've created. And we can work off a whole bunch of different stuff, but the actual USB video device is the one that we are using. Now this is not going to work because the USB video device is already essentially being controlled by my other source, but all you would do is click through here and that would create this. So again, you're not really able to see that here. It's invisible. If I was to do that, again, like I said, it's being controlled by the original source, but they're the steps that you take to set those up. So I can just remove this to tidy it up. And the second item I did here is actually just the headset that I'm using in conjunction with the capture card to make sure that we do have a very smooth kind of experience there. Alright, and that is all right now. We might jump in and show a little bit of streaming in just a second. Alright, and welcome back here for the third part of the review. We're just going to be covering a little bit of what we can see in terms of our output with this qGeem HDMI capture card. This game that we're covering here is called The Binding of Isaac. It's not particularly resource intensive on the system, and just to make sure that I'm being absolutely fair and clear, you know, I'm not using a particularly powerful machine here either, so I did want to go with a more lightweight example that we're running through, but we should get a good understanding of what the experience is start to finish here. So I've just clicked the start recording on the OBS software, and I'm just going to see a little bit, maybe of the first run through, see a little bit about the transitions and things, and we're just going to kick off a new run, maybe just for the next 30 seconds or so, just to see what the behaviors look like. So first off, I'll tell you right now, I'm not really seeing a big impact to the behavior itself. The performance is about on par with what I could have expected prior to installing this OBS software and running it in conjunction with running the game. Now that said, it's not a particularly powerful machine, so we are getting a little bit of an easier example here. I think if you had a more powerful game or a more demanding game, you would definitely have a little bit more of an impact. But there we are. I think we're actually in a place where we're able to say that this is exactly what we were hoping to get from this piece of hardware, and I gotta say that I'm pretty impressed. Thumbs up from